Testing, testing, testing. Testing, 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 testing. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Malik Yawm Al-Din. Al-Malik Al-Quddus. Al-Salam. Al-Mu'min Al-Muhaymin Al-Aziz. Al-Jabbar Al-Mutakabbir. Al-Muta'al. Al-Ali Al-A'la. Al-Aziz. Al-Jabbar. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك يوم الدين. أما بعد. أما بعد. This is the 16th broadcast or reading from the book Al-La'ali'u Al-Bahi'atu في شرح العقيدة الواسطية. The Alaqeedahtulwaasitiyyah is by Shaykh al-Islam Abu Abbas Ahmed ibn Abdul Halim ibn Abdul Salam ibn Taymiyyah. And the explanation is by Salih ibn Muhammad, Salih ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Ibrahim. I believe after that is Ibn Abdul Latif, Ibn Abdul Rahman, Ibn Hassan, Ibn Muhammad, Ibn Abdul Wahab. I could be wrong about that, but Hafidhullah Ta'ala, Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. The last class we talked about Ta'til. We talked about what's called a Ta'til, which is a form of denial, which is a denying of Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, or some of them, Ta'til, right? And this is this is something that Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah stays far away from, and they criticize and they avoid when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. So for details on that, refer to the previous two recordings. I think today is number 16, so that would be number 15 and 14. Sheikh Salih al-Shaykh Hafidhullah, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he says, وَمِنْ غَيْرِ تَكْيِيفٍ وَلَا تَمْثِيل. The beginning part of this is min al-imani billah, part of the belief in Allah. Al-imanu bima wasaf Allahu bihi nafsahu. To believe in what, or the belief in the names and attributes that Allah Ta'ala describes himself with. And the names and attributes that the Messenger of Allah described Allah Ta'ala with. Min ghayri tahrifin, without changing those names and attributes. And we talked about that. Wala ta'til, without denying those names and attributes. And here the Sheikh, or the Sheikh al-Islam, the author, he says, وَمِنْ غَيْرِ تَكْيِيفٍ وَلَا تَمْثِيل. We're going to get into the meanings of these, but in general, the takyeef means to describe Allah Ta'ala, or it means to explain, um, sort of picturize. I don't know if that's a word, but I need to give images or to give the conceptualize Allah Ta'ala's attributes, by saying they are like this and like that, without comparing them to a specific existence, right? Without comparing them to something that exists. The person creates the likeness in his head, is given a likeness, that's a better word, giving a likeness to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, but giving a likeness to something that's non-existent, something that the person creates in his head, makes up in his head. And Tamtheel is giving a likeness to Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, but a likeness that exists, the likeness of a created thing that actually exists. Okay, we're going to get into detail. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, Qala, the author, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, says, min ghayri takyeef, without giving likenesses, wa huna karrara min ghayr. And he said that the Shaykh mentioned for a second, and he repeated the term which would translate to without. When he said without, belief in Allah, part of the belief in Allah is believing in what Allah Ta'ala described himself with in his book, and what that which the Prophet described Allah Ta'ala with, and the Sunnah, right? And the author, he says, without making tahrif, and we talked about this, wala ta'til, without changing and denying, wa min ghayri takyifin wala tamtheel, and without giving a likeness or examples to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, that is. He says, وَسَبَبُ فِي ذَلِكَ, the Shaykh, he says, the reason why this part min ghayr is repeated and not, is because tahrif and ta'til, changing and denying, are similar. And likewise, giving a likeness and giving examples are similar. He says, however, the giving a likeness, meaning a created likeness, and making comparisons and saying things that Allah is similar to this and that, is different than tahrif and ta'til. Denying, that's different than denying and changing. He said the giving a likeness to Allah Azza wa Jalla and comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation and is part of the action of the people who are called al-mujassima. They are, I think they call them anthropomorphism or something like that. I think that's what they call them, right? The people who give the people who ascribe characteristics. Yeah, anthropomorphism. Oh no, that's not it. Anyway, the Mujassima, they say Allah Ta'ala has characteristics of human beings. So the Takyeef and Tamtheel, right? Or they say Allah Ta'ala has characteristics of created things, right? Or things that they have in their minds. التحريف والتعطيل, the tahrif and the ta'til, changing and denying, it includes the actions, or is what the mu'attila do, the people who deny Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. That's what they do. They do tahrif and ta'til. They change and they deny. And those, the individuals or the people who make likenesses to Allah, or they say this Allah Ta'ala is like this, that, and the third, which is, of things they have created in their minds, or they say Allah Ta'ala is like this, that, and the third of the things that are created. These people are called al-mujassima. They are called al-mujassima. Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah is very, very much at odds with both of these. وَلِهَذَا قَالَ الْعُلَمَاء, and because of this, the scholars, they said, الْمُمَثِّلُ يَعْبُدُ صَنَمًا, the individual who gives Allah Ta'ala or ascribes human characteristics to Allah Ta'ala, or characteristics that he made up in his mind, this individual worships a statue. وَالْمُعَطِّلُ يَعْبُدُ عَدَمًا, and those that deny Allah Ta'ala's attributes by way of changing or without changing, they worship nothingness. Right? He says, وَالسُنِّ يَعْبُدُ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا فَرْدًا صَمَدًا. He said, and the person who is upon sunnah worships one God who is singular and who everything and everyone depends on. Lima, why? The Sheikh, he says, the answer is because لأنه جسم فتخيل إلهه على نحو ما. Because the mujassima, they imagine that their Lord, that their God looked a certain way. They imagined it. They made it up and they imagined it. فعبد هذا المتخيل, and then he worshipped that which he imagined. فصار صورة, so it became an image. فصار صنما, so and then it became a statue, right? أما المعطل فهو يعبد إلها ليس له صفة وليس له أسماء أو نعود. Those that deny Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, they worship a deity that they believe has no characteristics and no names and no descriptions, no attributes. فإذا كان لا يصف الله بشيء فهو يعبد عدما محضا. So if they believe that Allah Ta'ala is not described with any characteristics or anything, they worshipped complete nothingness. And this is the action of the Jahmiyyah. This is the action of the Jahmiyyah. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, قال من غير ومن غير تكييف, without ascribing likenesses, imagine likenesses. Right? The Shaykh, he says, التكييف من كيف الشيء يكيفه تكييفا. Excuse me, so on and so forth. معناه, he said, the meaning is that the person gives a characteristic of Allah Ta'ala a how. They give it a how. And this how, this likeness, this description that they give it, it could be something that has a well-known example, or something that has it could be something that has a well-known example, or it could be the likeness that he describes could be well-known, or it could not be well-known, right? It could be a description that's well-known, or it could be a description that's not well-known. The Sheikh, he says, for example, the person, when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's hand, Allah Ta'ala is described with having a hand. And this hand, Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they believe that yes, Allah Ta'ala has a hand that is unique and appropriate and to Allah Ta'ala's majesty, and it is not like the hand of any of the creation. And in Arabic, and as a sidebar, in Arabic, um, some of the four-legged animals, they're what we call in English four legs, I believe we call them front legs. They call them in Arabic hand, what we would translate as hands. They use the word yad. Anyway, the mujassima, right? They for example, they come to the Allah Ta'ala's characteristic of having a hand. So they describe the hand in a way that's well known. Right? Or they make the hand, they say the hand is like something that is known. Right? Or they say likewise, the Sheikh, he says, they say that Allah Ta'ala istawa, inna Allah istawa ala al-arsh. Allah Ta'ala rose above the throne in this manner or that manner, like this and like that. Right? And they say it's like this and like that, something that they made up. Right? Something that they made up. He says, and perhaps, or some of them, they might mention the likeness of something. They might mention the Allah Ta'ala's this characteristic, Allah Ta'ala's attribute, and they say it's like A, B, or C, something that is well known that everybody knows. In this case, it's Tamtheel. When they make it up, it's called Takyeef. When they make up the likeness, it's called Takyeef. They make it up purely out their bag, as they say. Something they just made up off the top, right? There's no creature that exists like this, or this description that they give doesn't exist in reality. It just exists in their head, and you can understand it, right? This is a type of, this is what's called Takyeef. When the likeness that they give to Allah Ta'ala's attribute is something that exists, is called Tamtheel. Right? He says, or they might give it they might explain it in a way of something they imagine in their heads. In this case, it's Takyeef. Okay, he says Mal maqsood bi Takyeef fi hadha al-mawdu'. What is intended with the term Takyeef in this situation? When the Sheikh mentioned Takyeef and Tamtheel together, because this Takyeef and Tamtheel are similar, but when he or one of them includes the other, but when he mentioned them like this, the way the Sheikh he mentioned them, min ghayri takyifin wala tamtheel, the meaning is to differentiate between the two. Anyway, the point is, takyif is when a person, for example, imagines how Allah Ta'ala hand looks, or they imagine how Allah Ta'ala rose above his throne, or they imagine how Allah Ta'ala descends, or they imagine how Allah Ta'ala becomes angry. Right? All of this is takyif. They imagine it. They don't make it, they don't say it's similar to something, they just imagine it. Right? This is takyif, just making up stuff, using their imagination. Meaning that they give up the takyif that a group of the mujassima embarked upon. Mujassima are two categories. Mujassimatun mukayyifa, the mujassima that engaged in takyif, right? Though that they gave a likeness to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, a likeness that you can say it's like this animal, that thing that everybody know, that people know. Or you can say it's like this, that, and the third, or something that a person has made up. Both of these are batil and both of them are haram. But we're just going over this for the purpose of knowledge. Type mujassima mumathila. The second category of the mujassima, they are the ones that ascribed a body and body parts and limbs to Allah Ta'ala, right? Similar to the creation. Okay? Right. The Sheikh, he says, this is the meaning of Takyeef, nephew, the previous one that was mentioned, the likeness that is completely made up. What he says, وَنَفْيُهُ لَا شَكَّ أَنَّهُ مِنْ أَعْظَمِ الْمَعْلُومَاتِ الَّتِي يَعْلَمُهَا الْمُؤْمِنُ. He said, and the negating the Takyeef when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, he said, no doubt this is something that is, this is one of the greatest types of information, or something, the greatest things that are well known that the believer knows. This is one of the greatest types of information that the mu'min knows. فإذا وصف الله عز وجل يصفه بصفة يؤمن بمعناها ولا يعلم كيفيتها. So the believer, if he describes Allah Ta'ala, he will describe Allah Ta'ala he describes Allah Ta'ala with the characteristics, yani no doubt from the Quran and the Sunnah, that the meanings of these characteristics are known, but the kayfiyah, how they are as it relates to Allah Ta'ala, is something that is not known. It's not known to the human beings, right? So yes, Allah Ta'ala has a hand. Allah Ta'ala has a characteristic, an attribute. This attribute is called a hand, right? However, it's not like the hand of the creation. It's not like the hand of a clock. It's not like the hand of a human being. It's not like the hand of a monkey. None of that. It's a hand that is unique to Allah Ta'ala. As we know, subhanallah al-azim, every characteristic is appropriate for the one who is described with that characteristic. Right? When you say the hand of a baby, you understand that that's going to be a specific hand that's appropriate, unique to Allah, and that hand is going to be unique to Allah. Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, and those that are like them, the great Imam, the one that has the madhab, that one is well known, and how it is something that is not known, right? And in another narration, he said the kayf is majhul, and how Allah Ta'ala's attribute is, how it happened, how Allah Ta'ala is described with al-istiwa, rising, it's not known. And believing in it is obligatory, and asking about it is innovation. The Shaykh, he says, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, the statement of Imam Malik, al-istiwa ma'loom, يعني في اللغة معلوم المعنى. Al-istiwa is something that is well known in the Arabic language. The meaning is well known. The meaning of al-istiwa, the Shaykh, he says, is al-ulu al-irtifa, is highness, loftiness, right? Something being high. Well, kayf غير معقول, the kayf is not understood. How Allah Ta'ala's istiwa is, how it was when Allah Ta'ala yastawi, when Allah Ta'ala istawa, how it was, how it happened, how it existed, how it is, how we don't know this sort of thing. He says, وَإِيمَانُ الْمُؤْمِنِ بِاسْتِوَاءِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ إِيمَانُ مَعْنَى لَا إِيمَانْ كَيْفٍ. The belief in the istiwa is a belief in the meaning, understanding the meaning, belief in the meaning. It doesn't mean it's not a belief in the how. It's not a belief in how it happened. It's a belief that it happened, and that this is a characteristic of Allah. He says, لِأَنَّهُ إِيمَانٌ بِمَا دَلَّ عَلَيْهِ ظَاهِرُ اللَّفْظِ. He said, because it is the belief in what is understood from what is apparent from the term. It's a belief in that which is apparent from the term. أما الكيفية فإن القلب إن قلب المؤمن قد انقطعت علائقه به. In terms of he said, when it comes to the kayfiyah of Allah Ta'ala's istiwa, and likewise Allah Ta'ala's other attributes, the heart of the believer is disconnected from that. The heart of the believer is not connected to the kayfiyah. It's not connected to knowing how. وانقطع طمعه وانقطع طلبه لإدراك كيفية الاتصاف. And the believer does not hope to know how Allah Ta'ala rose above the throne, how Allah Ta'ala, how his hand is, how his face is. No, we know that Allah Ta'ala is described with having a face. Allah Ta'ala has a face, he has a hand. How it is, we don't know. Allah Ta'ala knows how it is, we don't. فإن هذا لا يعلمه إلا الله. Ta'ala is the only one that knows it, the Shaykh says. وهذه قاعدة نقولها في كل صفة. This is a principle that we apply in every single attribute. فإذا قيل كيف ينزل, if someone asks how does Allah Ta'ala descend, we say النزول معلوم. The nuzul, descension, is well known. والكيف غير معقول, and kayf is not known. And believing in it is obligatory, and asking about its innovation. If it's mentioned, if it said كيف غضب الله, how does Allah Ta'ala become angry? How is Allah Ta'ala's anger? We say likewise al-ghadabu ma'loom. The term al-ghadab, the word ghadab, is well known. وَالْكَيْفْ غَيْرُ مَعْقُولٍ. And how Allah Ta'ala becomes angry, or what it mean, how Allah Ta'ala is when he's angry, we don't know. وَالْإِيمَانْ بِهِ wajib. And believing in it is obligatory. وَالسُّؤَالْ عَنْهُ bid'ah. And asking about it is innovation. We know Allah Ta'ala is described with Allah Ta'ala gets angry sometimes. The kayfiyah of that is not known. Believing in it is obligatory. Asking about is innovation. Likewise, when it comes to the istiwa, when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's being pleased, when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's being angry, when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's mercy, when it comes to Allah Ta'ala's characteristics or attribute of al-majid, coming, right? Or how is Allah Ta'ala's itiyan? All of this is known. The meanings of these words are known. How they are as it relates to Allah Ta'ala is unknown. Believing in it is obligatory, and asking about it is an innovation. But the Sheikh, he moves on to the characteristic, to the next statement, wala tamtheel, right? Denying making likenesses between Allah Ta'ala and his creation. He says at tamtheel min mathala yumathilu tamtheelan ila akhirih. He says, and it was previously mentioned that tamtheel is a type of takyeef. Tamtheel is a type of takyeef. However, here it's mentioned by itself as a separate category. So takyeef is one thing, and tamtheel is another thing. So what's the intention, or what's the meaning of a tamtheel? The Sheikh says tamtheel is to ascribe a likeness to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, that is a likeness that is known, a likeness of a created thing, or a likeness of something that's known. Right? He says, so for example, Allah Ta'ala's attribute of having a hand. Right? They say Allah Ta'ala has a hand like the creation. That's tamtheel. Or they say Allah Ta'ala becomes angry like him has become angry. That's tamtheel. Or dissension. They say Allah Ta'ala descends like the creation descends. That's tamtheel. The Sheikh, he says, and this is important. The Sheikh, he says, وَلِهَذَا تَجِدُ أَنَّ كُلَّ مُعَطِّلٍ مُمَثِّلٍ. He said, because of this, you find that every individual that is a mu'attil, every individual that denies Allah Ta'ala's attributes, they are a mumathil. They have ascribed human characteristics to Allah Ta'ala. The Sheikh, he says, because the only reason they denied Allah Ta'ala's attribute is because when they were confronted with the attribute, what came to their mind, what they thought about was the attribute of the creation. And then they denied that attribute. Right? He says, if you ask one of these individuals that deny Allah Ta'ala's attributes, why did you deny Allah Ta'ala's attributes? Why did you say when it comes to when about Allah Ta'ala's descending, you said, why did you say Allah Ta'ala's mercy descends? Why didn't you say yet? Why didn't you say يتنزل Allah Ta'ala himself descends? كما أخبرنا النبي, as the Messenger of Allah informed us. Why didn't you say as the Messenger of Allah informed us? Why didn't you say as the Messenger of Allah, who is the most knowledgeable about Allah Ta'ala, this is what he informed us? Why didn't you say it just like that? They're gonna say this is unthinkable. This is impossible. Right? It's impossible to say that Allah Ta'ala descends. It's unthinkable, it's impossible. Why? They say because this necessitates Allah Ta'ala being like his creation. See? They say this, if you say Allah Ta'ala descends, it means you're saying Allah is like his creation. They assumed, and you know what they say about people who make assumptions, they assumed that the apparent meaning of the texts necessitates comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation. So they compared Allah Ta'ala to his creation, and then they secondly denied the attribute. They confronted it with the attribute. They say you can't say this. This mean this. If you say this, you're comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation. So for them, what was apparent from the text was comparing Allah Ta'ala to his creation when it comes to these attributes. So the first thing they did was they compared Allah Ta'ala to his creation, and then they denied the attribute. وَلِهَذَا يَقُولُ الْعُلَمَاء, because of this, the scholars, they say, كُلُّ مُحَرِّفٍ أَوْ مُعَطِّلٍ لِنُصُوصِ الصِّفَاتِ فَقَدْ مَثَّلَ وَعَطَّلَ. And he said every individual that changes or denies the texts of Allah Ta'ala's attributes, they compared Allah Ta'ala to his creation, and then they denied the attribute. When they were confronted with an attribute of Allah, like the hand, like the face, so on and so forth, like anger, Allah Ta'ala becomes angry, they compared Allah Ta'ala to his creation, and then they denied the attributes. He says, فَالْمَثَلُ وَالْكَيْفِ خَيْرٌ فَالْمُمَثِّلُ وَالْمُكَيِّفْ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْمُعَطِّلِ. He says the one that only ascribes an attribute, only describes human likenesses to Allah Ta'ala, or the one that describes made up likenesses to Allah Ta'ala, this individual is better than the one that denies Allah Ta'ala's attributes. Because these previous two, they only fell into one evil and one innovation. He says, وَهُوَ Tamtheel وَTakyeef. The likenesses, ascribing a likeness to Allah. That's what they did. The individuals that ascribed likenesses to Allah only, they fell in one evil. They just ascribed a likeness to Allah. However, those that deny or change Allah Ta'ala's attributes, they internally, they ascribe the likeness to Allah Ta'ala. Externally, they denied the attribute. Because what came to their heart, what came to their mind when they came to these attributes mentioned in the Quran and the authentic Sunnah, what came to their mind was a likeness to the creation. Right? So they say, how the hand of Allah? They say, that's what they say, Allah Ta'ala's hand. After they ascribe a likeness to Allah Ta'ala, likeness to Allah Ta'ala, saying Allah Ta'ala has hands like the creation. How can Allah Ta'ala talk with words and a sound, right? after they imagine and they say that this means, this necessitates, see, this is the philosophy. If we say Allah Ta'ala speaks, that means that we have to affirm that Allah Ta'ala has a tongue and vocal cords and so on and so forth, like the creation has. This is falsehood. This is batil. It doesn't necessitate that. That's why we say we don't know how. Allah Ta'ala speaks. Yes, Allah Ta'ala speaks. And there's sound. And there is sound. And there are words, letters. But that doesn't necessitate anything. Right? We just stop where the text stops. Allah Ta'ala speaks, He speaks. That's it. We don't say it means this, it has to, nah. So they say, if we say Allah Ta'ala speaks, that means vocal cords, that means a tongue, right? Things that they know in the creation. So what came to their mind was likening Allah Ta'ala to His creation first. They understood, in other words, they understood from the text. They understood that the text point to, direct us toward. The meaning of the text is a tamtheel, likening Allah Ta'ala to His creation. فَمَثَّلَ ثُمَّ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ نَفَى. The first thing they did was liken Allah Ta'ala to His creation. Then they denied those attributes. They were confronted with attributes. What came to their mind was, like they heard these attributes, they said, these attributes, if we affirm them, it's going to mean we're likening Allah Ta'ala to His creation. Therefore, we can't affirm them. Denial. Denied. Like it's something up for them, something you can just make a decision like that about. Like it's an application. Anyway, Qala Huna, the author, he says, Wala Tamtheel, and no likening Allah Ta'ala to his creation. He says, What Tamtheel min fi'l al-mujassama, وكذلك التكييف من فعل المجسمة. Tamtheel and Takyeef are both actions of those groups of deviants who say Allah Ta'ala is like the creation or like something that they invent in their heads. He says, "Wal mujassim wal mu'attila." These, whether you're talking about those people who engage in Tamtheel and Takyeef or those that engage in Ta'til with Tahrif, he said all of them are enemies of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. They are enemies of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah because Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah yu'minun bi nusus. Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah believe in the texts. La yumathiluna wa la yujassimun. They don't say Allah Ta'ala is like His creation or any other created thing. Right? They don't say Allah Ta'ala is like created things, and they don't deny and they don't change the attributes. Bal yuthbitun an-nusus ala ma dallat alayh. He said rather they affirm the texts. They affirm the texts as they have come. كما سيأتي بيان ذلك في عقيدتهم في نصوص الصفات, as is going to be mentioned in the coming classes, clarification of the Aqidah, and the text of the text concerning the attributes, as Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah is going to mention. And with that, we'll stop, inshallah, Azza wa Jal. May Allah Ta'ala give us success, help us, aid us, give us firmness, purify our hearts, purify our hearts, guide us, guide our children and our women folk. Subhanaka Rabbi, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.